Around 9600 BCE, people at Gobekli Tepe were raising T-shaped limestone pillars before pottery, before cities, and thousands of years before Stonehenge or the Great Pyramid. That is the confirmed starting point, not a lost metal age, not a written civilization. Stone tools, wild animals, limestone pillars, carved reliefs, and a hilltop in southeastern Turkey that forced archaeologists to rethink what hunter-gatherer societies could organize. Gobekli Tepe is not mysterious because there is no evidence. It is mysterious because the evidence is too early for the old simple story. Monumental architecture appears before settled farming looks fully developed. The timeline did not break. It got more complicated. Gobekli Tepe sits in the Urfa region of southeastern Turkey, near the northern edge of the Fertile Crescent. That map matters because the site is not alone anymore. Karahan Tepe, Navali Kori, Sefer Tepe, and other Taz Tepler sites show related traditions of T-shaped pillars and monumental stone architecture. Confirmed, Gobekli Tepe is part of a wider Neolithic landscape, not a single impossible island. Interpretive, this wider network changes the mystery from one miracle site to a regional culture experimenting with stone, ritual, settlement, and identity. The older viral version asks how one hilltop appeared out of nowhere. The better question asks why this region became a laboratory for monument building at the edge of the Neolithic world. The site was first noted in a 1963 survey, but its importance was not fully recognized. The tops of the buried T-shaped pillars were mistaken for grave markers or ordinary stones. In 1994, German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt re-examined the hill and realized the stone slabs were likely prehistoric megaliths. Excavations began soon after. Confirmed, Schmidt's work brought Gobekli Tepe to global attention. Confirmed, the site later became a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Interpretive, the discovery history is a reminder that archaeology often begins with misreading. A hill can look ordinary. A stone can look like field clearance. Then one careful second look can move the beginning of monumental architecture thousands of years deeper into the past. The most famous features are the circular and oval enclosures with massive T-shaped limestone pillars. Some pillars stand more than 5 meters tall. Two central pillars often face each other, surrounded by smaller pillars set into stone walls. Confirmed, the older monumental enclosures date to the pre-pottery Neolithic A. Confirmed, many pillars carry carvings of animals and abstract symbols. Disputed, whether all large enclosures were roofed, open air, or used in the same way. Interpretive, the pillars are often understood as stylized human or superhuman figures, because some have arms, hands, belts, and clothing details. The stones are not mute. They are bodies, markers, symbols, and architecture at once. The animal carvings are one of the site's strongest visual hooks. Foxes, boars, snakes, vultures, scorpions, wild cattle. Confirmed, many reliefs show wild animals rather than domesticated herds. Interpretive, that fits a world where hunting, danger, death, identity, and ritual may have been deeply connected. Disputed, the exact meaning of the animal symbols. This is where restraint matters. A vulture is not automatically a star map. A scorpion is not automatically a coded warning. The carvings are evidence of a symbolic world, but not a dictionary we can read line by line. For years, Gobekli Tepe was popularized as the world's first temple. That phrase is powerful, but newer research has made the picture more careful. Confirmed, the monumental enclosures likely had strong ritual or communal significance. Confirmed, domestic structures, cisterns, tools, food remains, and daily life evidence are also part of the site. Disputed, whether Gobekli Tepe should be understood mainly as a temple, a settlement, a ritual center, or a complex mixture. Interpretive, the strongest current view is not that religion simply came before farming. It is that ritual, feasting, settlement, hunting, labor, and early food production may have developed together. That is less catchy than temple first. It is also more interesting. Moving and carving the pillars required organization. Not modern machinery. But planning, quarrying, transport, food, skilled stonework, and people willing to gather for a shared project. Confirmed, quarries and unfinished pillars have been found near the site. Confirmed, large amounts of animal bones point toward hunting and consumption. Interpretive, feasting may have helped mobilize labor and build social bonds. This is the human machine behind Gobekli Tepe. The old story says farming created villages, villages created hierarchy, and hierarchy created monuments. Gobekli Tepe suggests the arrows may point in more than one direction. Ritual projects may have helped create the social pressure that pushed people toward larger settlements and food production. One famous claim is that Gobekli Tepe was deliberately buried. Older interpretations imagine the enclosures carefully filled in at the end of their ritual life. Recent work is more cautious. Confirmed, many structures were filled with debris and deposits. Disputed, whether this was a single deliberate burial event, gradual accumulation, construction activity, or a mixture of processes. Interpretive, the filling still matters because it preserved much of the site. The mystery is not only why people built Gobekli Tepe, it is how they altered, reused, filled, and transformed the place across many generations. The site is not a frozen photograph. It is a long sequence of human decisions stacked into a hill. The wider Taz Tepler research has changed the conversation. Gobekli Tepe is still extraordinary, but it is no longer alone. Nearby sites show related pillars, sculptures, buildings, and symbolic traditions. Confirmed, the Urfa region contains multiple pre-pottery Neolithic sites with monumental or symbolic architecture. Interpretive, Gobekli Tepe may be one node in a broader cultural landscape. That makes the mystery bigger, not smaller. Instead of one impossible site, we have a whole region of communities testing new ways to gather, remember, build, feast, and represent bodies in stone. It is a Neolithic world beginning to organize itself in public. What is still unknown? The exact meanings of the animal reliefs. How many people gathered there and from how far away? Whether the enclosures were roofed. How daily life and ritual were connected. How leadership worked without later style states. Why some spaces were filled or abandoned. Confirmed, Gobekli Tepe is early, monumental, and symbolically rich. Disputed, many of the stories people attach to it. This is the honest middle. The site is not proof of aliens, Atlantis, or a lost high technology. It is proof that people near the start of the Neolithic were more socially and symbolically capable than the old textbook outline allowed. So what is Gobekli Tepe? The safest answer is this. It is a pre-pottery Neolithic site in southeastern Turkey, famous for monumental T-shaped pillars, carved animal reliefs, and architecture dating back to around 9600 BCE. It was not built by a known city-state. It was not made by metal tools. It was not a simple isolated temple from nowhere. It was part of a changing Neolithic landscape where ritual, settlement, food, labor, and symbolic life were being reorganized. That is why Gobekli Tepe matters. It does not prove that history is fake. It proves that the beginning of settled human complexity was stranger, older, and more creative than we once imagined. If you could test one Gobekli Tepe clue next, what would it be? The T-shaped pillars, the animal reliefs, the backfill layers, the domestic buildings, or the wider Taz Tepler network? Tell me which clue changes the timeline most for you, and stay with Mystery Atlas TV for the next case where the oldest evidence rewrites the newest assumptions.